Nigeria's inflation rate rose to a 17-year high of 19.64% in July 2022. This compares to the 15.6% seen in January 2022, thus a 25% worsening of Nigeria's inflation rate within 7 months. It is worth bearing in mind that the official inflation rate is a national average of averages. Thus, actual inflation being felt by individuals will differ depending on location and actual items being consumed across Nigeria. Analysts have averred that Nigeria's headline inflation has continued to worsen despite the CBN's attempt to hike interest rates. Recall that CBN raised interest rates to 14% in July 2022 compared to 11% in January 2022, thus a 27% tightening of MPR. For further analysis, Steve Okafor, an associate of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers and the MD CEO of Kofana Securities and Investments Limited, joins me via the telephone. Good to have you join us today.
Good morning. Good morning. Nice to be with you again.
Absolutely. Well, very quickly, we're looking at the hike in MPR. Now, the CBN, in its quest to arrest the growing inflation rate, has raised the benchmark interest rate by 27% from 11% in January 2022 to 14% now in July. Talk to us about the gains recorded so far.
It is CBN. If you look at what is happening all over, most economies are increasing their rates. Okay, and CBN possibly is trying to look at what is happening in other economies and try to, more like, so that we are not left behind. But what they are not looking at is our peculiar circumstance. You understand? Now, if you look at before the increase in the NPR, that's the rate, our inflation rate was just hovering between 16 and 17 at that time. Despite the increase in the interest rate, you see discover that inflation has lost some part down because part of the reason why they increased the rate.
Glad to know you're still with us. Now, Nigeria's inflation rate rose to a 17-year high of 19.64% in July 2022. This compares to the 15.6% seen in January 2022, thus a 25% worsening of Nigeria's inflation rate within 7 months. It is worth bearing in mind that the official inflation rate is a national average of averages. And joining us to make sense of this today is Steve Okafor, an associate of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers and MD CEO, Kofana Securities and Investments Limited. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Nice again joining you.
All right. Very quickly, we're looking at the CBN and its quest to arrest the growing inflation rate. And of course, we see that it raised the benchmark interest rate to 14% in July. Talk to us about this. What gains have we recorded so far as a result of this hike in MPR?
The hike in the rate, hello? The hike in the interest rate, according to CBN, is to enable, majorly to enable them fight inflation in Nigeria. Okay? However, despite the increase in the rate, you have seen that inflation has not suffered. It has actually increased from 15 to 17% after the time they made that increase in the interest rate. But it's now in the neighborhood of 30%. So it has not worked. Okay? However, it's also important for us to look at the rationale for actually trying to increase the rate. It's important. Let's give CBN benefit of that. Okay? Now, if you're looking at it from the angle of consumption and savings, interest rate is an incentive to increase savings. And if you have disposable income, if it's not used in consumption, it is used, it is saved. And it is from that savings that you channel to investment. Okay? That is on the assumption that, inflation is being caused by consumption.
Okay.
Increase in demand. Okay? But unfortunately, that is not the case in Nigeria. So CBN using increased interest rate to fight inflation it will not work in our own. We have a peculiar problem.
All right, talk to us about the peculiarity of the Nigerian economy and what should be done instead to arrest the growing inflation rate.
Now, if you look at our peculiar nature, if you look at our own peculiar problem, okay, one, the inputs for the manufacturers, most of them are imported. Our agricultural products right now, farmers cannot go to farm because of insecurity. Even those villages that can still manage to get to their farms, upon harvesting of their crops, there are no roads to move these things to the cities where they are required. Most of our goods are perishable. You understand? So, if you look at it this way, now, if you're increasing this rate in conjunction with these problems you're already having, you are compounding our problem. So let me be honest with you. CBN, no matter what they say, I personally feel that why they increase interest rate is to see if they can attract capital inflow to enable them solve the problem of shortage in effects in Nigeria. That is the reason. No matter what they say, for me, they took a gamble, and that gamble is not working. The gamble of trying to see if they can attract foreign investors is not working. Rather, you are compounding our problem. Right now, usually the price of everything has gone up.
All right. Yes. So what will work? Let's talk about what will work.
What will work? Hello, am I hearing you correctly?
Oh yes, yes, you heard me correctly. I was saying what will work.
What will work in Nigeria is, first of all, let's conquer agriculture. Let's conquer food production. Let's conquer food production. As it stands, how do we conquer food production? How do we make a cup of garri very cheap? Do we need to import raw materials to manufacture garri? No. How do we ensure that farmers can access their farms? How do we ensure that yam can be grown and supplied in abundance to the market? And how do we ensure that when the farmers harvest their product, the product can get to the city where there is this population creating of. Let's have access to it. Let's the government tackle insecurity. It is high time the government allows state policing. The federal policing have not worked. We cannot continue looking at what America and Europe are doing. Inflation all over the world and increasing rates is what is obtainable all over the world because we have their own inflation it is peculiar to their own economy. We all know that Ukraine and the Russian war has created disruptions. So for them, increasing their own rate is to stop outflow of to stop capital flight in their economy. That's why they're increasing their own rate. However, you can't increase our rate. Where is the capital flying to? Who are you going to attract? So why not forget?
All right, thank you so much.
Foreign economies are doing, and let's concentrate and conquer our own food production. How do we make sure that you and I can buy the basic things we need at a lower rate by ensuring that farmers have access to their farms and these things are transported to the city? And if possible, we think of how do we also go ahead and store these things, preserve them, and stop them from spoiling. Because agricultural products that are not preserved, usually.
All right, thank you so much, sir. I think this is a very good place to anchor. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. All right, I've been speaking with, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for your thoughts. This is a good place to anchor because of our time. But of course, we look forward to having you some other time so we can have a more extensive conversation on this particular issue.